Good morning, good afternoon. What's going on there, folks? It is the Earthmaster back here on this Wednesday. It is Wednesday, June 14th, 2023, about 12:14 here in the afternoon in California. Latest quake shows a 1.7 here. Within the strait, just off the coast of Morocco, it looks like a little bit closer to the region of Spain, though. 1.7, 8 kilometers deep, the latest quake there on the Earthquake 3D globe. Looking at the big picture here today, I don't see any major large-scale movement taking place. Still keep an eye on the area down around the Kermadec Trench and New Zealand. Starting to see a little bit of uptick in earthquake activity here across the New Zealand region. Of course, the Kermadec Islands area has been seeing a pretty good swarm of movement here. Let's see if we had anything overnight in this region. Looks like we did have another 5.5 earthquake just earlier this morning. It's a little series of earthquakes that are taking place here, specifically around the Kermadec Islands region. Been down there about 35 kilometers deep or so. This latest quake, a little bit more shallower upstream into the subduction zone area. So keeping an eye on that. New Zealand area, nothing showing up here on the USGS map, but again, the USGS doesn't want to show anything international unless it's above a certain magnitude, 4.0, I believe. But sometimes they'll put in a 2-pointer in Spain. It's like, goodness. All right, so earthquake activity, it looks like 2 hours ago here around North Island. That kind of looks like it's very close to the Taupo supervolcano. 3.3 at 54 kilometers deep. 4 hours ago, looks like we had a couple twos. Let's take a look at the earthquake drums here and just get a visual of what's going on across the area. Of course, the 3-pointer will show up. Looks like there's it kind of looks like there's at least that 3-pointer and maybe a couple twos there is listed on the map within the last couple hours. Not seeing anything major popping off overnight. And we'll just continue to keep an eye on that area of New Zealand all along that plate boundary, in fact, because it's primed to move here eventually with all the activity taking place. Here's the movement a little bit further up north along the Kermadec Trench. This is going to show some of the activity from yesterday as well. Quite a few fives in here, and also looks like some smaller quakes as well not being reported. There's the latest 5-pointer up along the Kermadec Trench showing up on the seismograph station here, well north of the New Zealand area, Kermadec Island station. As far as the Taupo supervolcano, it looks like maybe I was off slightly. Doesn't look like it's specifically at that volcano seismic station, but close, because these other stations here around the vicinity are picking it up pretty nicely as well. But either way, we'll continue to watch this area of New Zealand for some movement. All right, looks like we got some further activity into the Tonga Trench here. This deeper movement, though, was from yesterday, so I wouldn't doubt it. See a little bit of bouncing back and forth here of deeper and shallower earthquake activity, but also at the same time, New Zealand's within that plate boundary there that needs to be watched. Across the Indonesia area and New Guinea, it looks like a couple earthquakes overnight, a latest of 4.4 just outside the Java Sea region. This one's pretty deep, though, 606 kilometers. It is in a zone, though, I'm sure, right here. Darker areas indicating some deeper movement quakes. A subduction zone a little bit further down here on the map. And, of course, as you go upstream, the earthquake activity gets shallower, which is the white-colored circles. Moderate depth there and deeper movement quakes here across the deepest levels of that subduction zone portion of the Java Trench. So with that being said, definitely got to keep an eye for some further movement upstream, so to speak, following this deeper movement downstream. It just makes sense, right? Going to add some further strain up along the subduction zone area. Not a whole lot going further to the west here. Looks like, hold on a second, looks like our date here dropped a little bit. There's the last 24 hours. Doesn't really add too much, but we'll watch this area around the Java Trench here for some movement. Looks like it may be temporarily paused within this area of the Philippines and the Indonesia region where that deeper earthquake activity is occurring. Up around the Japan region, not a whole lot. Looks like at least maybe a couple fours here, low grade fours overnight. Up along the Aleutian Trench here, got a little bit of activity kicking up. Latest one, at least somewhat above the microquake levels, a 2.8 around Anchorage. Aside from that, a little bit of activity from yesterday. One more 4.1 here into the Rat Islands area, about 5 o'clock this morning. Their earthquake coming in. West Coast activity. We've got one earthquake up here, 2.5, British Columbia. Surprised they're reporting that. Adding all the microquakes here across the map. Most of this activity across Northern California from yesterday. Also this earthquake up here north of Mount Shasta from yesterday as well. So Northern California specifically is very quiet today. As far as Southern California goes, looks like those two earthquakes above 2.5 from yesterday with microquakes added out here on the map. Still looks very quiet. Not a whole lot of swarming going on. The latest quake, though, a 1.2 near Joshua Tree. They're around the San Bernardino Mountains on the North American side here of the plate boundary. Awfully quiet. Yellowstone National Park was having a little bit of activity yesterday. Looks like nothing's been added onto the map, so let's just double check and make sure. Let's see what we got here. There's outside interference. Nothing going on here, it looks like this morning. Maybe a couple earthquakes overnight. Very small microquakes, but aside from that, things are pretty quiet there at Yellowstone. Rest of the country here, a couple earthquakes out in western Texas yesterday, and one earthquake here around the New Madrid seismic zone from yesterday. A lot of yesterday earthquakes out here on the map. So not a whole lot of newer movement. A little bit of activity here off the coast of Mexico with a 4.1. Getting a cluster of threes across. Looks like the extreme southern end here of the Middle America Trench. Right within this area. Nicaragua and the Costa Rica area swarming slightly with a bunch of threes there listed on the map. South America, mostly twos and threes, with a slight clutter there around the Peru-Chile Trench. But aside from that, goodness. I think right now a couple main areas to watch. Obviously some movement around New Zealand and Java Trench areas. We are looking at a little bit of quiet zone here across the Loyalty Islands area up around Solomon Islands. But this area has moved a lot in the last couple weeks. So I'm not really too concerned about that region, but it is showing a little bit of seismic gap as far as seismic quietness goes. And the middle Mediterranean area, a lot of twos out here, including a recent 2.0 it looks like. That's, let me fix that. There we go. Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet. Not a whole lot going on out there across the Atlantic. So just a somewhat of a calm day. We'll continue to not jinx it, but definitely keep an eye. New Zealand area. Space weather activity out here today. Looks like it's fairly calm. Not a whole lot of flaring activity. We were still watching a couple sunspot regions on the far eastern limb of the sun. There's a little bit better glimpse here of that sunspot area, at least one of them. This one looks a little bit more promising than the one up north. Better view today. Notice a lot of complex structure within this massive sunspot. And also this sunspot region here is growing. Looks like that's starting to amplify a little bit with an elevated solar flare threat from numerous sunspots here today. Let's see here. Well, they're showing 99% chance for a C flare. M flare at 15, X flare around 1. I think that's a little bit more elevated with the 15% chance. Should be about 30 or so. I think that was just 30 a few minutes ago, and it dropped back down. Either though, this is what the probability details are. But with this growing sunspot region here and the new one, 33, 33, I think this area definitely needs watching here for some further flaring. Not a whole lot of activity as far as the 3-day goes. Storm Prediction Center today has a moderate risk across a good portion here of the south with, wow, we got a 10% chance of tornadoes today. This is kind of a big deal with this area. A lot of trees down there, right, in the jungle. A lot of storm chasers call this area the jungle. I'm not really a big fan of chasing storms out there in that area of the country. But heads up today, 10% hatched area, or it's actually 10% or greater probability of an EF2 to EF5 within 25 miles of a point. Now, EF5 is the strongest tornadoes there on the scale. So if you're in that hatched area, that includes Montgomery, Alabama, Columbus, Georgia, Albany, is that Dothan, Alabama, Auburn. These areas right here have the highest probability of tornadoes due to the dynamics set up for today's severe weather event. You can also get some large tornadoes out 5% and the 2% as well, but this is the most likely area of the ingredients, so to speak, where that's going to take place today. So we got a big time wind and hail threat as well. Wind, 45% chance with a hatched area, seeing 65 knots or greater within 25 miles of a point. So that's kind of a big day down there into southern, well, we got a good portion of Alabama, Louisiana, Arkansas. Anywhere you see this moderate risk or enhanced category, technically anywhere in this region is a likely threat of some severe weather today. But the most concentrated regions there around Montgomery and Columbus area, just be on guard. Today's kind of a big weather day. Looks like afternoon into tonight is when that's going to take place. Let's see what we got here for the weather conditions out here currently within this region. I'm just going to use the Windy app. Looks like we already got stuff firing up right now. A lot of thunderstorms out there kicking up across that region. A lot of weather warnings coming up as well. There's a lot of the severe thunderstorms. Looks like we do have a couple tornado warnings out here across Oakfield area, it looks like. And south of Albany, near the Newton area in Georgia, the red boxes here, tornado. A lot of thunderstorm watches going on across this area. Of course, things are just getting going right now as far as the weather goes. That will continue, of course, into the late afternoon and early evening time period. Just be on guard out there today for these storms. Could be a big deal. Rest of the country out here, folks, I'm not going to see too much activity out here along the west coast. Looks like a lot of this thunderstorm activity is scooting off to the east, so that sucks here for us because we're supposed to be around 92 degrees today. Going to be a little bit warmer, and as we get into the weekend, I think we're going to be hitting about 100 or so. We're actually, I think around Friday or so, supposed to be around 100. Here where I live. All right, folks, I'm going to jump off here. Hope everyone has a good day. Stay safe out there. Enjoy this Wednesday if you can. Friday, of course, right around the corner. And then tomorrow we got our member drawing. We'll be doing that tomorrow. Let's shoot. I'll provide a time tonight on the update, and we'll definitely stick to it. I don't really have anything planned tomorrow as far as any events go, as far as any trips go. So I will be here on the home front doing that drawing live on the channel with Missy Mimi's. We'll see if we can't get her in here because it's always fun to include Missy Mimi's here on the stream. But yeah, member drawing coming up tomorrow. Make sure you guys join the channel here to become entered into that drawing, and also extra videos, extra perks, all that good stuff that comes along with the membership benefits. We'll see you guys back here later tonight. Have a good one.